Chapter 881. Zhan Tang, prepare the car immediately, let's go to Qinjia village. Bai Ziashan looked angry. Soon, the car was ready. Bai Zhan Tang drove towards Qinjia village, and Zhao Waoqi went with him. Old Bai, what happened to make you so angry? Zhao Waoqi asked in confusion. Bai Ziashan repeated what David said, which made Bai Zhan Tang, who was driving, speed up instantly. I have scolded that Tang Shili thousands of times in my heart. Their Bai family worked hard to establish a good relationship with David, but this guy framed David for stealing a car. On the other side, David waited quietly after calling. He knew that Bai Ziashan would arrive soon. What? Are you forced to pretend? What did Mr. Bai say? Tang Hui looked at David and sneered. Old Bai will be here soon. David said lightly. You said that Mr. Bai will be here soon. When Tang Shili heard this, he stood up abruptly, but he reacted quickly, and snorted coldly, okay, I'll give you half an hour, if the old man Bai can't arrive, you can just wait for the big prison. Even dare to steal from the Bai family. For a while, the atmosphere in the box became a little awkward, and she didn't speak, while Barbara looked at David's anxious face. Chen Baoqiu didn't change much, he kept his head down and smoking a cigarette, and he didn't seem to be in a hurry. Soon, half an hour later, Tang Shili looked at his watch, waved his hand and said, take the person away. Several people in uniform grabbed David together. Big brother, please, don't let them capture David. Seeing that David was really about to be taken away, Barbara knelt down in front of Tang Shili with a puff. Mom, don't kneel. David hurried forward and pulled Barbara up. Barbara, I'm not a helper. Your son should be arrested for stealing other people's things. It's nothing to say. It's useless for you to kneel down for me. Tang Shili said arrogantly. Just when Barbara was about to ask Tang Shili, the door of the box was suddenly pushed open. The three entered the box. Bai Ziashan was at the front, followed by Bai Zhan Tang and Zhao Waoqi. Seeing Bai Ziashan who came in suddenly, Tang Shili and Tang Hui were all stunned. None of them thought that Bai Ziashan would really come. Master Bai. Tang Shili hurriedly greeted him. Get out of the way, let me get out of the way. Tang Hui also hurriedly yelled at the local officials, asking them to stand up and make room for Bai Ziashan. When Tang Shili walked towards Bai Ziashan with a smile on his face, Bai Ziashan ignored him, but went straight to David. Mr. Chen, I'm so sorry, I didn't expect to lend you a car to drive, but this happened things. David just smiled and didn't say anything. Bai Ziashan's words made Tang Shili, who was full of smiles, stunned for a moment. The smile also solidified on his face, and he looked at David in disbelief. He couldn't believe that the dignified head of the Bai family in the capital of Bai Ziashan was so polite with the little boy David, and called him Mr. Chen. What exactly is going on? Just when Tang Shili was stunned, Bai Zhan Tang, who was on the side, slapped him and slapped Tang Shili's face fiercely. You fucking eat the guts of a bear's heart and a leopard, and dare to slander Mr. Chen for stealing the car? This car was lent to Mr. Chen by grandfather, not to mention that Mr. Chen drove it. Even if it was given to Mr. Chen, it would be nothing for us. The pleasure of home. Bai Zhan Tang yelled at Tang Shili. Tang Shili was slapped by this slap, but fortunately Tang would support him, or else he would have sat on the ground long ago. Are you Tang Shili from the Jiangbei provincial capital branch? Bai Ziashan asked Tang Shili angrily. Tang Shili covered his face and nodded again and again. Chapter 882. Starting today, the company has nothing to do with you. Where should you go, where should you go? Bai Ziashan said coldly. Pfft. After Tang Shili heard it, he sat on the ground with a thud. He had endured all his life, and now there is nothing left. Dad. Tang Hui hurriedly pulled Tang Shili up. Master Bai, I beg you, please let me go, please let me go. Tang Shili knelt down in front of Bai Ziashan and began to plead bitterly. But Bai Ziashan was unmoved. David didn't speak about this matter, and Bai Ziashan didn't dare to make his own decisions. Tang Shili also seemed to see something, so he gritted his teeth, looked at David and begged for mercy. David, it's your uncle's fault just now, please tell the old man Bai and go around me once. David looked at Tang Shili coldly, I don't dare to go up against your uncle. Seeing that it was useless to beg David, Tang Shili turned his head towards Barbara. Barbara, please help me beg for mercy, Big Brother is wrong, Big Brother is wrong. Tang Shili begged Barbara, but Barbara looked embarrassed and distressed, and wanted to reach out and help Tang Shili up. But just as Barbara reached out, she was pulled away by Chen Baokuo, who was on the side. Although Chen Baokuo didn't speak, it could be seen that he didn't want Barbara to take care of him. Tang Shili begged for a circle, but no one took pity on him. At this moment, Tang Hui, looking at his father like this, rushed forward angrily and pulled Tang Shili up. Dad, let's not beg them. The big deal is not to stay at the Bai family. I am also a section chief now. I can support you. After 2 years, I will make them look good. Tang Hui gritted his teeth and looked at David and Barbara fiercely. He hates these relatives in front of him, for being so heartless. But he himself never thought that with his arrogant appearance at the beginning, he had ever regarded these people in front of him as his relatives. The section chief of the provincial capital, such a big official, do you think it is Pavilion Master Zhao? David looked at Zhao Wuji. A small section chief dares to show off his power like this. We don't need such a bully in our law enforcement team. Zhao Wuji glanced at Tang Hui and said lightly. Tang Hui was stunned for a moment, looked at Zhao Waoqi, his eyes widened in an instant, and the whole person was dumbfounded. Just now, he focused all his attention on Bai Ziashan, but he didn't notice Zhao Waoqi, but when he looked closely, he saw Zhao Waoqi. The pavilion master of the Protectorate Pavilion in Kyoto, this is comparable to the number 1 in the provincial capital. He is a bird for a small section chief. Zhao, Sir Zhao, I. Tang would stutter, not knowing what to say. You don't need to say anything. I am now dismissing you as the pavilion master of the Kyoto Protectorate Pavilion. As for your violation of law and discipline, I will send someone to continue the investigation. Zhao Waoqi waved his hand and said with a cold face. At this moment, Tang Meeting was bloodless and slumped to the ground, and Tang Shili also fell down. The father and son were like lost dogs at the moment. As for those local officials, when they heard that Zhao Waoqi turned out to be the pavilion master of the Kyoto Protectorate Pavilion, they were too frightened to speak, and they all walked away in despair, for fear that they would be implicated in the future and their positions would not be guaranteed. Mr. Chen, let's eat in a different box. I have to apologize to Mr. Chen in person. Bai Ziashan respectfully followed David. David nodded, looking at Tang Shili and Tang Hui who were collapsed on the ground. David had no appetite. Soon, everyone changed to a box, and Bai Ziashan kept making amends with David during the banquet. David's mother and his second aunt's family were taken aback for a while. Only Chen Baokuo looked at David with a face full of relief. He had already seen that David was not simple. After staying in Chinjia village for 2 days, Bai Ziashan and the others did not go back to the city, but stayed with David in Chinjia village for 2 days. 2 days later, after saying goodbye to their parents, David and the others left for Kyoto. During the period, Bai Zhantang also called and urged Sun Simiao to prepare the medicinal materials David needed as soon as possible. David planned to help Zhao Waoqi deal with the matter, so he went to Yaishan Valley to practice the black jade intermittent paste, and helped Lin Tianhu and Chifeng recover as soon as possible. Come over. Chapter 883. The Kyoto Law Enforcement Pavilion. Here is the headquarters of the entire Kyoto Law Enforcement Department, and everyone who can enter the Kyoto Law Enforcement Pavilion is almost a master. When David and the others arrived at the Protectorate Pavilion in Kyoto, Su Shimao led the team to greet him at the door. Salute! Seeing Zhao Waoqi and David's car approaching, Su Shimao shouted. All members of the Guardian Pavilion salute! Seeing such a battle, David felt a little nervous. Mr. Chen, you don't have to be nervous. In the future, these guys will also be your subordinates. You can send whatever you want. If you want to beat or scold, you can do whatever you want. Zhao Waoqi saw that David was a little nervous, so he smiled slightly. David was stunned for a moment, and looked at Zhao Waoqi puzzled. Pavilion Master Zhao, what do you mean? I'm just here to help you play the game. Let's not talk about it, let's go in and talk. Zhao Waoqi looked at David and smiled slightly, which made David suddenly feel like he had fallen into a trap. The two got out of the car and walked towards the Dharma Protector Pavilion. Bai Ziashan and Bai Zhantang went back to Bai's house, while David let Xiaolan go to Yaishan Valley, where the crouching tiger, hidden dragon in Kyoto is full of danger, and many people are looking for David. David doesn't want Xiaolan to follow adventure yourself. Mr. Chen, we meet again. After Su Shimao saw David, he greeted him with joy. Captain Su, your strength has grown rapidly recently. David glanced at Su Shimao, and found that Su Shimao had reached the strength of the 5th grade Great Master. Su Shimao smiled awkwardly. Mr. Chen, don't make fun of me, but Mr. Chen has made rapid progress. I heard that you killed Qin Xiaolan not long ago. You must know that Qin Xiaolan is Wuzong. Captain Su, your news is too outdated. What is a Qin Xiaolan? Just 2 days ago, Mr. Chen fought against Tianwu Men's sect master Xia Hedun and Tianluo Pavilion's pavilion master Ni Sideo. What do you think? Zhao Wuji smiled slightly. How's it going? Su Shimao asked hurriedly. Mr. Chen directly beheaded those 2 people, not even the scum was left. Hearing this, Su Shimao suddenly took a breath of cold air, knowing that whether it was Xia Hedun or Ni Sideo, it was Wuzong who had been famous for a long time, and he was much stronger than Qin Xiaolan, who had just been promoted to Wuzong, and now David was a 1-2. To kill both of them, David's current strength is too terrifying. Pavilion Zhao, don't make fun of me. David smiled slightly. The group entered the Dharma Protector Pavilion. Su Shimao poured tea and water for David himself, while Zhao Waoqi asked David to sit beside him. Mr. Chen, our Kyoto Dharma Protector Pavilion looks strong and powerful from the outside, but only we know that our Dharma Protector Pavilion is about to be disbanded. Zhao Wuji sighed softly. How does Pavilion Master Zhao say this? David was very puzzled. Mr. Chen doesn't know anything. Every time an international competition is held, our Kyoto Law Enforcement Pavilion is almost at the bottom, embarrassing our Daxia Kingdom, and now there are rumors that this time we are playing at home. If we are winning, if we don't get the ranking, then we will disband our Dharma Protector Pavilion. Zhao Wuji said solemnly. The bottom every time? Wouldn't it be so exaggerated? Don't we have masters in Daxia? David was a little surprised to know that the masters of the Great Xia Kingdom are like clouds, so it may be so bad. Hey! Zhao Waoqi sighed. We Daxia are masters like clouds, but no master is willing to join the Dharma Protector Pavilion. In the eyes of those masters, our Dharma Protector Pavilion is an unpopular existence, and these people either start their own sects or join the Kyoto Martial Arts Association, who will take a fancy to this place. Chapter 884. David is right after thinking about it. If it were himself, he would not choose to join the Dharma Protector Pavilion, because joining the Dharma Guardian Pavilion has too many rules and is not very free, and those masters are all eyes above the top. How could it be possible for people to control on? I don't know what kind of strength the competition is this time, I'm afraid. Mr. Chen, rest assured, your current strength is definitely not a problem, I believe you. Zhao Waoqi was full of confidence in David and admired him very much. David smiled awkwardly, and then asked, Zhao Pavilion Master, what did you mean when you were in the car just now? Zhao Waoqi smiled, Mr. Chen, you promised me something, you won't go back on it, right? Of course not, a dignified man, it's hard to chase after a single word, David nodded. That's good, Mr. Chen agreed to help me play the game, but to play the game, you must be the guardian of the law, so Mr. Chen wants to join our guardian of the law, and by the way, help me train these guys under my team. Zhao Waoqi looked at David with a wicked smile. Join the law enforcement pavilion. David was stunned for a moment, then waved his hand hurriedly, that's not possible, I still have a lot of things to do, but I don't have time to stay in the Dharma Guardian Pavilion to train your troops. Mr. Chen, you just need to join our Dharma Protector Pavilion, you don't need to stay here all the time, you don't have to abide by any rules, it won't have any impact on your freedom, and joining our Dharma Guardian Pavilion will have another day for Mr. Chen. Great benefit. Having said this, Zhao Waoqi bought a pass, and suddenly stopped to look at David's reaction. What's the benefit? David was indeed attracted by the benefits of Zhao Waoqi. Mr. Chen should know that many people are looking for you now, and many people even want your life, but if you join the Dharma Protector Pavilion, no matter who you are, they will not dare to kill you blatantly, although we protect the law. The pavilion is looked down upon by those sect families, but after all, it is an official department, who would dare to oppose the official family? Zhao Wuji whispered to David. After David heard this, he frowned slightly. Although Zhao Waoqi was right, David was not mentally prepared for him to join the Dharma Protector Pavilion. Seeing that David didn't speak, Zhao Waoqi continued, Mr. Chen, you join the commander of the Protectorate Pavilion, and I can help you introduce the Martial Arts Association in Kyoto. As long as the Kyoto Martial Arts Association speaks to protect you, I am afraid that no one will dare to target you. The corner of David's mouth moved slightly, he was indeed moved by Zhao Waoqi's words, although his strength was growing rapidly, but when he really wanted to face the big sect and the aristocratic family, David seemed a little powerless by himself. Moreover, if he wants to rescue his mother from the Long family, or even destroy the Long family, with his own strength, he is afraid that it will be the year of the monkey and the horse moon, so David also needs his own power. Although David now has 13 entrances of the dragon sect, he has only found 3 entrances, and it is a mystery when the other entrances will be found. There is also Yaya Shengu. Although the elders of Yaya Shengu are very powerful, most of them are not very powerful. Yaya Shengu pays more attention to refining medicine. And now Zhao Waoqi proposes to let David join the Dharma Protector Pavilion, and he is not bound by the rules after joining. Phew! David didn't want his mother to die on the street before he was rescued. Gate Master Zhao, I promise you, but what do I need to do specifically? David asked. Mr. Chen, you only need to train the guys from the Dharma Protector Pavilion. In the Dharma Protector Pavilion in Kyoto, you can mobilize anyone except me at any time. If you want these guys to improve their strength as soon as possible, you can't always let them go in every international competition. Mr. Chen came forward. Zhao Wuji said. Chapter 885. Okay. David agreed directly. David chatted with Zhao Waoqi for a while, because Zhao Waoqi asked David to rest while he walked towards the martial arts field. Pavilion Master, that Xian Yuanrong made a fuss in the martial arts field, and brought many people out of training. Just as Zhao Waoqi walked out of the room, Su Shimao hurried over. What's the matter? What exactly does Xuan Yuanrong want to do? Didn't he already make him an instructor? Zhao Wuji frowned. I don't know either, go and have a look. Su Shimao urged. Zhao Waoqi sighed, and could only walk quickly towards the martial arts field. This Xian Yuanrong was gilded by the Xian Yuan family, who was forced into the Dharma Protector Pavilion through a relationship. Although this guy was a martial sect, he was arrogant. Not many people like him. This Xuan Yuanrong relied on the relationship above, and did not take Zhao Wuji in his eyes. In addition, this guy was stronger than Zhao Wuji, so he was even more arrogant and domineering in the Dharma Protector Pavilion. In the end, Zhao Waoqi sealed this Xuan Yuanrong's name as an instructor and asked him to train him. This guy has only been honest for a few days, but now he is making trouble again. After walking quickly to the martial arts field, Xuan Yuanrong was sitting on a table with a bottle of wine and half a roast chicken in his hand, eating meat and drinking heavily. There are rules in the Protectorate Pavilion. It is absolutely forbidden to drink alcohol in the team. Now Xuan Yuanrong is drinking in front of everyone in the martial arts field. Xuan Yuanrong, what are you doing? How dare you drink in the martial arts field? Zhao Wuji angrily stepped forward and reprimanded. Xuan Yuanrong looked at Zhao Wuji and snorted coldly, Zhao Wuji, let me ask you, did you find another instructor for the Dharma Protector Pavilion? Yes. Zhao Wuji didn't hide it, and nodded directly. I heard that he's still a little boy in his early 20s, and you put a little boy in the same position as me. Are you hitting me in the face? Xuan Yuanrong jumped off the table and glared at Zhao Wuji. I don't look at age, I just look at strength. Zhao Waoqi looked directly at Xuan Yuanrong, this time he didn't back down. Look at the strength? What kind of strength can the little boy have? I'm Wu Zong, who can compare with me in the entire Dharma Protector Pavilion, you can't even be the pavilion owner, so what strength do you want to tell me? I tell you, I came to the Dharma Guardian Pavilion for in the international competition in a few days, our Xuan Yuan family will show their faces and increase their popularity, and now in the entire Dharma Protector Pavilion, besides me going to the competition, can you find someone else? Xuan Yuanrong's eyes were full of disdain. In the entire Dharma Protector Pavilion, no one could be stronger than him. Zhao Waoqi looked at Xuan Yuanrong, he didn't expect that the Xuan Yuan family had brought Xuan Yuanrong into the Dharma Protector Pavilion through connections, just to participate in international competitions, to show the Xuan Yuan family's face and gain popularity. This kind of international competition needs a big picture concept, and it wants to win glory for the country, and this Xuan Yuanrong turned out to show his face for their Xuan Yuan family. As for the international competition, there are already candidates, and you have been dismissed as an instructor, and the instructor has let Mr. Chen serve. Zhao Wuji said to Xuan Yuanrong coldly. When Xuan Yuanrong heard this, he was immediately furious. Zhao Waoqi, did you make a mistake? Are you taking training as a joke? You are irresponsible to let a young boy do the training. Who are these people here? Will you be convinced by a little furry child? I heard that the instructor this time was personally invited by Pavilion Master Zhao to Horondal. How powerful can a young man in his early 20s cultivate from his mother's womb? No, I don't know what the Pavilion Master thinks, and he wants this kid to play games. Chapter 886. Don't say it, I have heard that the Mr. Chen invited this time can kill 2 Wuzongs by one person. You can believe this kind of thing, how come I've never heard of such a master in Horondal, and he's still so young? The members of the Dharma Protector Pavilion secretly talked a lot. Shut your mouth for me. Su Shimao glared and roared, so scared that no one dared to speak. However, these words also reached Zhao Wuji's ears. Xuan Yuanrong sneered and looked at Zhao Waoqi. Zhao Waoqi, did you hear me? Let a little hairy child be an instructor, who will obey him, or you can call him and let me learn 2 tricks with him. If he can accept it, let me go with 3 moves, and I'll leave immediately, but if I can't take it, let him go, and let me go in the game. Xuan Yuanrong, you are too crazy. If you really want Mr. Chen to compare with you, let alone 3 moves, Mr. Chen can crush you to death with one hand. Zhao Wuji didn't speak, but Su Shimao couldn't listen any longer and shouted at Xuan Yuanrong. Xuan Yuanrong's face turned cold, and he looked at Su Shimao with sharp eyes. How dare you talk to me like this? While speaking, Xuan Yuanrong's figure moved, and he went directly to Su Shimao. Snapped. With a slap, Su Shimao flew out and fell heavily on the ground. Xuan Yuanrong, Zhao Wuji immediately shouted angrily when he saw that Xian Yuanrong had actually made a move. Go and call that kid out. Let's have a test. I want to see how powerful the guy who has not grown his hair can be. Xian Yuanrong looked at Zhao Wuji and said very arrogantly. Zhao Waoqi helped Su Shimao up, but he didn't speak, but his brows were tightly locked together. Seeing that Zhao Waoqi did not speak, Su Shimao said anxiously, Pavilion Master, I will go and invite Mr. Chen. I mustn't let this guy be arrogant in the Dharma Protector Pavilion. After that, Su Shimao wanted to go to David, but was stopped by Zhao Waoqi. I can't go. If Mr. Chen comes and there is really going to be a conflict, wouldn't Mr. Chen have another enemy? Besides, the Xian Yuan family is not easy to provoke. Mr. Chen has made too many enemies in Kyoto, we should not cause trouble for him. The reason why Zhao Waoqi was reluctant to let David compete with Xian Yuanrong was because he was afraid that David would have a holiday with Xuan Yuan's family, which would make it even more difficult for David to move in Kyoto. After Su Shimao heard it, he could only stop, touched his swollen face with his hand, and looked at Xuan Yuanrong angrily, but there was nothing he could do. He is only the strength of a great master, and facing the Wuzong Xuan Yuanrong, there is no room for him to fight back. Zhao Pavilion Master, since you regard me as a member of the Dharma Protector Pavilion, of course you have to call me when you encounter such a thing. At this time, David walked over slowly. Mr. Chen, seeing David, Su Shimao was immediately excited. Mr. Chen, haven't you rested yet? Zhao Wuji stepped forward and asked respectfully. Gate Master Zhao, with our strength, let alone a few hours' journey, even if you don't sleep for 3 days and 3 nights, it's fine. David smiled slightly. You are the instructor invited by Zhao Waoqi? Xian Yuanrong asked David with a cold expression on his face. Not bad. David nodded. Looking at you in your early 20s, you already have the strength of a great master, and you are considered a genius, but even so, you are not worthy of being an instructor at the Dharma Protector Pavilion. I don't think it is easy for you to cultivate. Get out now, I can still spare you. Xuan Yuanrong could see at a glance that David's aura was only in the realm of a great master, so he didn't need to be afraid at all. Forgive me. David raised his mouth slightly, I don't know who Xian Yuankai is from you. Chapter 887. Xian Yuanrong was stunned for a moment, and then replied, Xian Yuankai is my nephew, do you know Xiao Kai? Of course I know, his arm was cut off by me, how could I not know? David was in front of him and had already heard Xian Yuanrong and Zhao Wuji talking, so he knew that Xian Yuanrong was a member of the Xian Yuan family. You are that David? Xuan Yuanrong looked at David in shock. David nodded, yes, your grandfather, I am David Chen. Seeing David's admission, Xian Yuanrong's face was filled with murderous intent, good boy, you cut off my nephew's arm, and you swallowed Longjing into your body. Today, I want to avenge my nephew, and by the way, I will take you the dragon crystal in the body is taken out. Xuan Yuanrong said, his aura suddenly rose, and he was about to hit David with a punch. Xian Yuanrong, what do you want to do? This is the Dharma Protector Pavilion, you can't help me. Seeing that Xian Yuanrong was going to attack David, Zhao Wuji immediately stood in front of him and said, Zhao Waoqi, don't fkook me with the Protector Pavilion. This kid hurt my nephew. Today I must avenge my nephew. If you don't want to die, get out of my way. Xian Yuanrong didn't take Zhao Waoji in his eyes at all, and shouted abusively. This made Zhao Wuji look ugly, but there was nothing he could do. His strength was no match for Xian Yuanrong. Even if he did it, he would be asking for trouble. Gate Master Zhao, you better stay out of the way. Today, I happen to use this Xian Yuanrong to stand up for power, save your subordinates who are not satisfied. David said lightly. Mr. Chen, Zhao Waoqi looked back at David. What? Are you afraid I can't beat him? David said with a slight smile. No, not to mention one Xian Yuanrong, even if it is two Xian Yuanrong, it is not Mr. Chen's opponent, but Mr. Chen pays attention to the balance in the end, and don't cause any fatalities. Zhao Waoqi was afraid that David would take a heavy shot and kill Xian Yuanrong, which would be difficult to deal with at that time. Don't worry, I'm measured. David nodded. David sang along with Zhao Waoqi, but Xian Yuanrong almost died of anger. Zhao Waoqi, what the H3LL are you talking about? When I scrap this kid and I'm looking for you to settle accounts, you actually look down on me so much. After Xuan Yuanrong shouted angrily, he clenched his fists and smashed his fist towards David's chest. Zhao Wuji hurriedly dodged away. He knew that Xuan Yuanrong was not David's opponent at all, but he watched David easily kill that Xiahedun and Ni Sideo. Looking at Xian Yuanrong, who was full of anger and punched him, David had a faint smile on his face, and he didn't move. Just when Xuan Yuanrong's fist touched David's body seemed to have a protective cover suddenly, and a faint golden light flashed on his skin. Bang! With a dull sound, Xian Yuanrong's fist slammed into David's body, but the strange thing was that David's body did not move at all, and even the expression on his face did not change in the slightest. This time, Xuan Yuanrong's heart was startled, and he looked at David in shock. You must know that his punch is strong enough to crack mountains and rocks. Even a car can be punched through with one punch, but this punch hit David as if it was hit on a hard steel plate. The huge anti-shock force directly shook Xian Yuanrong's arm, and the pain instantly swept through his body. Xian Yuanrong gritted his teeth, slowly retracted his fist, and his arm was shaking constantly, but he was trying hard to control it so that no one else could see it. What's going on? Could it be that Xuan Yuanrong didn't use his strength? This is Wu Zong's punch. Even a car can be easily pierced. Why didn't David move? Could it be that two people acted on purpose, and then gave Shui David in front of us? Chapter 888. The members of the Protectorate Pavilion whispered, in their opinion, Xian Yuanrong is a martial sect, and this punch can reach several thousand kilograms. How could someone receive this punch and still not move? Okay, Mr. Chen, great! Su Shimao suddenly shouted and applauded. He was slapped by Xuan Yuanrong just now, and he has long held a grudge in his heart. Now David was punched by Xuan Yuanrong, but he didn't even move. You are courting death. Xuan Yuanrong's face became extremely ugly, and after shouting angrily, he struggled to move towards David. This time, Xian Yuanrong released his energy, condensing all his strength, and the terrifying aura made all the members of the Dharma Protector Pavilion present find it difficult to breathe, like a mountain pressing down on them. Now they wouldn't think that David was acting with Xian Yuanrong. Xian Yuanrong was really angry. Boom! Xian Yuanrong slammed with a ruthless punch, only to see the dust flying, the hard martial arts field, and Xian Yuanrong blasted a deep hole directly. This is the power of Wu Zong, and everyone was shocked by the power of Xian Yuanrong's punch. However, when the smoke cleared, he saw David standing there motionless, with the same smile on his face, looking at Xian Yuanrong with disdain and ridicule in his eyes. The surrounding team members suddenly widened their eyes, knowing that this was a hard blow from a Wu Zong. Even if this blow was a small mountain, it would blow off the top of the mountain, but David was unscathed. This. Xuan Yuanrong looked at David, not knowing what to say for a while. This David, no, this instructor Chen is too good. Standing motionless, even a second-rank Wu Zong can't be hurt. Instructor Chen's strength is afraid to reach the realm of 5th grade Wu Zong. It's great. With Instructor Chen teaching us, I believe our strength will definitely improve a lot. The members of the Protectorate Pavilion were talking excitedly. At this moment, they had no doubts about David. Xuan Yuanrong, there are mountains outside the mountains, and there are people outside the people. With your little strength, don't show shame in front of Mr. Chen. Su Shimao shouted at Xian Yuanrong excitedly, humiliating Xian Yuanrong. Xian Yuanrong was trembling all over. Su Shimao, I killed you first. Xuan Yuanrong was not attacking David, but attacked Su Shimao, intending to take Su Shimao out. Seeing this, Su Shimao's expression changed slightly. He was not Xian Yuanrong's opponent. Seeing that Xuan Yuanrong was in front of Su Shimao, David's figure flashed in an instant, and then he kicked out. Xuan Yuanrong's body suddenly flew out like a kite with a broken string, and fell heavily to the ground. This kick directly caused Xian Yuanrong to vomit blood, and his face was extremely pale. When everyone saw this, they drooled wildly. This was an exaggeration, and he kicked a Wuzong away with one kick. After Xian Yuanrong landed, David's figure also came to Xian Yuanrong's body. He raised his foot and was about to fall. With this kick, Xian Yuanrong's brain will burst and die, and a generation of Wuzong will disappear like this. Mr. Chen, you can't. Seeing this, Zhao Waoqi hurriedly stepped forward to stop David. Mr. Chen, how can you say that this Xian Yuanrong is also a member of the Xian Yuan family? You can't kill him in the Dharma Protector Pavilion, it will bring you a lot of trouble, and then our Dharma Protector Pavilion will also it's hard to do. David looked at Zhao Wuji, slowly retracted his feet, looked at Xuan Yuanrong and said, go away. Xuan Yuanrong climbed up with difficulty, looked at David angrily and said, boy, wait for me, I will definitely avenge this revenge. Xuan Yuanrong left. David didn't take Xuan Yuanrong's threat to heart, because there were too many people who threatened him. If David cared, he would have been scared to death by now. Chapter 889. Pavilion Zhao, let me introduce you. David glanced at the members of the Guardian Pavilion. Zhao Waoqi nodded, everyone gathers. With an order, all the members of the Dharma Protector Pavilion gathered tightly, standing upright one by one, with expectations and excitement on their faces. Just now you also saw Mr. Chen's strength. In the future, Mr. Chen will teach you and let you improve your strength in a short period of time. Now I announce that Mr. Chen will be the instructor of the Law Enforcement Pavilion in the future, and everyone must obey the instructor Chen. Dispatch, if you dare not to listen to instructor Chen, just get out of here. Zhao Waoqi said to the team members with a serious face. Who dares not to listen to Mr. Chen? I, Su Shimao, can't pass this test. Su Shimao added a sentence aside. Yes, follow the instructions of Instructor Chen. All the players shouted in unison. The strength David showed just now had convinced these team members long ago. Even if Zhao Waoqi didn't tell them, none of them would dare to be disobedient. Mr. Chen, please say a few words, Zhao Waoqi looked at David and said. David nodded, and then said loudly, I don't actually have much time to teach you anything, so most of the time you still stick to your own training, but I can write some of my own cultivation experience to help you improve faster. The other is the aid of medicinal herbs. I can ask Ye Shengu to send some medicinal herbs that are helpful for cultivation, so that you can improve faster. David said lightly. Medicine God Valley Pill. This time, all the team members, including Zhao Waoqi, were all stunned. You must know that the medicinal herbs in Ye Shengu are not so easy to ask for. How many people go to Ye Shengu to ask for medicine, but they are finally blocked from the outside. What's more, there are dozens of people in the Dharma Protector Pavilion, which requires dozens of medicinal pills. How could Ye Shengu give out so many medicinal pills to the Dharma Guardian Pavilion? Mr. Chen, the medicinal pills in Ye Shengu are expensive, and most people simply can't get them. We have dozens of people in the Dharma Protector Pavilion, which requires a large amount of medicinal pills. Could it be that Mr. Chen has some friendship with Ye Shengu? Zhao Wuji asked with a puzzled face. David smiled slightly, there is no friendship, but as the owner of the valley, I still have this right. Oh! Zhao Waoqi snorted, but then he was stunned, as if he had reacted, and looked at David in shock. Chen, Mr. Chen, what did you just say? Lord! If it wasn't for the Valley Master of Yaishin Valley, how could I dare to boast about such a large high cow? David said. David's words made everyone stunned, and they couldn't react for a long time, because David shocked them so much that they were now dumbfounded. A few minutes later, Zhao Waoqi reacted. His face was full of excitement. He really did not expect that David actually has such a first-level identity. Now that David has become an instructor of the Law Enforcement Pavilion, wouldn't David be able to get the medicine pills that the Dharma Guardian Pavilion needs in the future? Long live Instructor Chen! I don't know who below shouted suddenly, and then all the team members shouted excitedly. Long live Instructor Chen! Long live Instructor Chen! Soon, many couples rushed forward and lifted David high, because they were so excited that they didn't know how to express their excitement. Zhao Waoqi looked at David, his eyes were also very excited. With David's participation, the future of the Dharma Protector Pavilion may be brilliant, and it will not fall into such an embarrassing situation as it is now. The current Dharma Protector Pavilion is the grandmother. If you don't love your uncle or love, those aristocratic sects still look at the Guardian Pavilion. Chapter 890. David wrote a book of his own practice experience overnight, and handed it over to Su Shimao the next day, and asked Su Shimao to lead people to practice according to his own practice experience, while David planned to go to Yaishan Valley and ask Su Chongsheng to give it to him. The people from the Dharma Protector Pavilion practiced some medicinal herbs, and by the way, he practiced the black jade intermittent paste, so that Lin Tianhu and Chifeng would suffer less. Mr. Chen, why don't I accompany you for a walk? Many people in Kyoto are looking at you now. Although my strength can't help you, after all, my identity is here, and no one dares to really kill me. Zhao Waoqi said with some concern after knowing that David was going to go to Medicine God Valley to get the medicinal pills for these people in the Protector Pavilion. Pavilion Zhao, now the international competition is coming, you should stay in the Dharma Protector Pavilion, I can go by myself, don't worry. David smiled slightly. Then if there is anything, Mr. Chen will call me immediately. I still have some connections in Kyoto. Zhao Waoqi was able to get into the position of the Pavilion Master of the Dharma Protector Pavilion in Kyoto, but he also had some means and connections. Otherwise, how could he have achieved such an important position? Okay. David nodded. But when David was about to walk out of the Dharma Protector Pavilion, he suddenly stopped, turned his head to face Zhao Wuji and asked, Zhao Pavilion Master, do you know where Wuying Villa is? Mr. Chen, are you going to Wuying Villa? Zhao Waoqi asked suspiciously. I have some friendship with Zhao Liguo, the owner of Shadowless Villa, and I plan to go and see. David has been separated from Zhao Liguo for more than a month. Now that he knows that Wuying Villa is a hall of Dragon Sect and is under his command, David thought about going to see it, and then went to the Protector Pavilion to get some medicine pills for Wuying Villa. Zhao Waoqi pointed out the location of Wuying Villa to David. In a forest on the outskirts of Kyoto, Wuying Villa was located inside. David came to Wuying Villa according to the place pointed by Zhao Waoqi. Looking at the magnificent building in front of him, a manor with tens of thousands of square meters, David was a little shocked. He did not expect Wuying Villa to be so luxurious, but looking at this manor, you can see that the Shadowless Villa is very powerful. It is no wonder that Zhao Chuang has no strength, but no one dares to offend him. David walked to the door and saw two people from Shadowless Villa guarding the door left and right. On the door, there were two pieces of white paper, and there were white cloths hanging on both sides of the door. The two guards of Shadowless Villa were also sad face. What happened to the villa? When David saw the scene in front of him, he felt a little stunned in his heart. He knew that something had happened, because the door would only be arranged like this when someone died at home. The two guards glanced at David, became nervous and drew out their weapons. One of them asked, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" "I'm a friend of your villa owner, what happened to your villa?" David asked anxiously again. "The villa owner's friend." The guard frowned slightly, since you are the villa owner's friend, why don't you know what happened to our villa and say, are you a spy sent by the Perak Gate or the Xian Yuan family? The two guard knives have been unsheathed, and they are ready to start immediately. I said, I'm a friend of your village owner. If you don't believe it, you can report to your village owner and say that David is here. It's the same as your young village owner's report. David hurriedly explained. David? Are you David? A guard looked at David in surprise. Yes, I am David Chen. David nodded in confusion. Wait a minute, I'll report right away. The guard quickly ran towards the villa. After a while, the guard came back, and Zhao Chuang came with the guard.